Hello friends. Have you ever met someone who walks into a room and instantly shifts the energy, like a storm that's both awe-inspiring and a little bit terrifying? The kind of person who can read your soul through a single glance, and whose ambitions burn with the intensity of 1,000 suns. That, my friend, is a Scorpio born in the year of the dragon. This isn't just a personality, it's a force of nature. What happens when you mix the emotional depth and intensity of a Scorpio with the magnetic dominance and mystical power of the dragon in Chinese astrology? You get a creature that feels, fights, loves, and lives harder than almost anyone else. Let's break down who they really are, what makes them tick in love, sex, friendship, business, marriage, dark sides, and even life purpose. Love, the obsession that feels like destiny. Love, for a Scorpio dragon, is not a chapter in life, it's the entire book. It begins before the first glance and lingers long after the final goodbye. They do not merely fall in love, they plunge into it, as if drawn by a gravitational force they can't resist. The moment they feel a spark, they start reading between every line, overanalyzing every moment, and mapping out the entire emotional terrain. There's a sacredness to love in their eyes, almost mythological. They approach it like an ancient ritual, where every glance has weight and every silence speaks volumes. This is not someone who's interested in going with the flow. They don't just date, they claim. When they connect with someone, it's not just emotional, it's energetic. They want to absorb your essence, decode your silence, and occupy the spaces you didn't even know existed within yourself. It's intense to the point of psychic. They'll pick up on your fears, your suppressed memories, your self-doubt, and then love you through it, as long as you let them in. They remember everything, not just the date of your first kiss, but what you were wearing, what the weather was like, what song was playing in the background, and what your voice sounded like when you whispered your first, "I love you." Their memory in love is archival. They collect emotions like rare antiques, precious, personal, and not for public display. But that same photographic emotional memory also stores every micro-betrayal. Forgetting an important anniversary, a poorly chosen word, or even a lingering glance at someone else can set off emotional alarm bells they'll never fully turn off again. Love, to them, is deeply private and wildly territorial. You are theirs, not as property, but as purpose. And when they say, "You're mine," it's not possessiveness in the traditional sense, it's a vow. A declaration that they will stand between you and the entire world if needed. But this also means they expect reciprocity on the same level. A casual, maybe, or, "let's see where this goes," doesn't just confuse them, it offends them. They don't dabble, they devour. Romance for a Scorpio dragon is operatic, cinematic, and drenched in symbolism. They don't do cliché date nights unless there's meaning behind them. A candlelit dinner becomes a secret test. A gift is not just a gift, it's a message, a code, a signal. They speak in metaphors, in eyes lingering across the room, in texts sent at 3 a.m. that seem cryptic to others but make perfect sense to you. Even their silences are loaded. When they say nothing, they're still saying everything. And if you can't hear that, you're not really seeing them. Their idea of love is transformation. They don't just want to be with you, they want to change you, and be changed by you. They believe love should leave scars, should break down walls, should force you to become the most honest, naked, unfiltered version of yourself. They want the ugly truth, the buried traumas, the things you've never told anyone. To them, that's intimacy. But here's the danger: their love has teeth. It bites, it claws. If they sense dishonesty, detachment, or disloyalty, they won't argue. They'll withdraw, quietly, strategically. One day you'll notice they're not asking the same questions, not staring at you the same way. And by then, it might already be too late. Their trust is fragile, even though their love seems invincible. Once broken, it's nearly impossible to restore. They may forgive, for a while, but they never forget. And that grudge, it won't be loud, it'll live in the subtle shift of how they speak your name. The way they don't laugh at your jokes anymore. The cold, calculated distance that wasn't there before. But when loved right, when honored and seen and trusted, a Scorpio dragon in love is unmatched. Their loyalty becomes your fortress. Their belief in you turns into motivation stronger than any pep talk. They'll protect you from your enemies and sometimes even from yourself. They will become your mirror, your muse, your bodyguard, your confessor. They don't love people, they love souls, and if they love yours, no one else will ever compare. You will always be haunted by what they gave you, and if you ever lose them, a part of you will never stop looking for what they once made you feel. Because loving a Scorpio dragon means experiencing something bigger than life. It means being seen, touched, and remembered in a way that no one else is capable of. It's not just obsession, it's destiny, rewritten in passion, pain, and permanence. Marriage, a bond forged in fire. To marry a Scorpio dragon is to enter into a marriage that doesn't feel like a romantic fairy tale. It feels like an ancient myth written in blood and forged in destiny. This is not someone who sees marriage as a box to check or a social tradition to satisfy family expectations. To them, it's a sacred union, a merger of souls, and a battlefield where truth, loyalty, and emotional grit are tested every day. If love is a fire, then marriage with a Scorpio dragon is a forge, a place where steel is melted down and reforged into something stronger, unbreakable, and uniquely yours. They don't marry for convenience, companionship, or comfort. They marry for purpose. Their ideal partner isn't a background character in their story. They want a co-architect of their legacy, someone who shares their vision for life and isn't afraid of the emotional, and sometimes spiritual, depths required to build something extraordinary. They believe in building empires together, not homes with white picket fences. And when they say empire, they mean a life so meaningful, intense, and personal that it leaves an imprint on the world around them. At the core of their idea of marriage is growth, painful, beautiful, relentless growth. Scorpio dragons do not shy away from conflict if it leads to a breakthrough. They're not interested in peace at the cost of truth. Every fight becomes a stepping stone. Every disagreement is an excavation of deeper truths. Their commitment isn't built on superficial harmony. It's built on the raw honesty that comes from surviving storm after storm and choosing each other anyway. Marriage, to them, is about facing demons, internal and external, side by side. If you're not ready to face your darkest parts, you're not ready to stand beside a Scorpio dragon. They have no tolerance for half-hearted vows. When they say, "I do," it's not symbolic, it's literal. They do whatever it takes. They do the late-night talks, the emotional healing, the rebuilding after everything falls apart. But they expect the same in return. They will give you everything they have, but they need to know you'd walk through fire for them, just as they would for you. A lack of emotional reciprocity isn't a small issue, it's a deal-breaker. They would rather be alone than misunderstood. This intensity comes with challenges. Scorpio dragons often struggle with control, not because they want to dominate their partner, but because vulnerability scares them. When they love deeply, they feel exposed. And when they feel exposed, they want to protect that emotional core at all costs. That protection can turn into possessiveness, innocent actions, an ambiguous tone in your voice, a delayed reply, a wandering eye, can set off alarm bells in their psyche. They're always scanning for betrayal, sometimes seeing shadows where none exist. But this suspicion isn't paranoia, it's their emotional radar. Scorpio dragons are born with the ability to feel when something is off, often before it becomes obvious. They'll notice when your energy shifts, when your attention drifts, when your love isn't as present as it used to be. You can't fake affection with them. You can't lie with your eyes. And if you try, they won't always confront you right away, but they will start pulling back. Slowly, silently, and often irreversibly. Still, for the partner who embraces their depth, who doesn't fear intensity or emotional honesty, life with a Scorpio dragon is a rare and powerful journey. These are people who show up. Through loss, through stress, through chaos, they're the ones who fight for the marriage when others would give up. They're not just in it during the good times. They become your anchor during the worst of it, and their unwavering loyalty becomes the glue that holds everything together. There's also an erotic undercurrent to their marriage bond. The intimacy between a Scorpio dragon and their chosen partner isn't just romantic, it's primal. Their emotional connection feeds their physical one, creating a loop of desire and devotion that deepens over time. They don't believe passion has to die after the honeymoon. In fact, for them, marriage is where real passion begins. When trust is earned, when barriers are broken, when pain is shared and survived, that's when the most intense connection emerges. They're also fiercely protective of the marriage itself. It's not just a union between two people, it's a sacred container. Friends, family, even children, they'll always come second to the marital bond. If someone outside the marriage threatens the integrity of the relationship, even unintentionally, the Scorpio Dragon will react swiftly, often cutting people off without warning. To them, marriage is a fortress, and they are its gatekeeper. But this same strength can become a flaw if not checked. Their intense need for exclusivity can turn into isolation. Their focus on us against the world can become too insular, shutting out healthy influences or differing perspectives. That's why it's vital for their partner to speak up, set boundaries, and create balance, without fear. Because the Scorpio Dragon, when challenged with truth, will listen. They respect strength. They crave honesty, but only when it's offered with love. Ultimately, a Scorpio Dragon marries not just to be loved, but to be transformed. They want to become someone better, stronger, more whole because of this union. And they want to be the reason you rise into your fullest self, too. They believe marriage should change you. Not because you're broken, but because love, when it's real, always changes you. This is not a union for the faint-hearted. It demands emotional intelligence, endurance, and soul-level commitment. But for those who step into this fire willingly, who choose intensity over ease, who welcome transformation over tradition, marriage with a Scorpio Dragon is unforgettable. It's not just a love story. It's a legacy written in ash and fire, sealed with loyalty, and powered by a promise that nothing, not time, not hardship, not even death, can break. Sex, fire meets mystery. When it comes to sex, Scorpio Dragons don't play by the rules. They rewrite them. This isn't a quick fix for tension or a mechanical act. It's an immersive experience, a sacred ritual, and often, a psychological game of chess. They treat intimacy like a hidden world that only a select few will ever be allowed to enter. And if you're lucky enough to be chosen, prepare yourself. It's not going to be soft and sweet. It's going to change you. Scorpio Dragons are a fusion of two incredibly powerful forces: the Scorpio's emotional intensity and intuitive perception, and the Dragon's unapologetic sensuality and dominant energy. Together, they don't just seek pleasure, they seek meaning, depth, and control. This combination results in a partner who seduces with precision and purpose. Every move is calculated, every glance is loaded, every touch is designed to peel back layers you didn't even know you were hiding under. They know how to hold eye contact in a way that makes you feel exposed, understood, and completely powerless, and they like it that way. To them, sex is not about release, it's about revelation. It's about bringing out the hidden parts of you. They want to explore your mind as much as your body. They crave confession, vulnerability, surrender. They want to hear your secrets whispered in the dark. They want to see you unguarded, trembling not from fear but from truth. If you're not willing to go deep, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you're going to be left standing outside their world, wondering why the door suddenly closed. And make no mistake, they choose carefully. Scorpio Dragons are selective lovers. They don't waste their energy on casual flings unless they're using those flings as cover for a larger emotional strategy. They can engage in surface-level intimacy, but it doesn't satisfy them. They'll walk away just as fast as they came, leaving the other person completely confused and craving more. This isn't manipulation, it's instinct. If you don't stimulate their soul, their desire evaporates. When they do choose you, fully, intentionally, with that signature Scorpio Dragon conviction, you'll feel it in every cell of your body. Their energy is magnetic, almost overwhelming. They don't just want to make love, they want to consume, awaken, and elevate. They will take you to the edge, emotionally, physically, and sometimes spiritually, and then pull you back into safety, only to do it all over again. This back and forth creates a powerful bond that feels addictive. There's also an undeniable power dynamic at play in their sexuality. Dragon brings the fire of leadership, the hunger to dominate and possess. Scorpio adds the emotional intelligence that knows exactly when to take control and when to let go. The result is a lover who knows how to lead with confidence and touch with devastating precision. They may take charge one moment, then silently invite you to match their intensity the next. It's a dance between power and surrender, and they expect you to keep up. Their interest in sex extends far beyond the act itself. It's about energy, connection, transformation. They often approach sex as a kind of alchemy, believing that the right emotional and physical chemistry can trigger lasting change, healing from trauma, spiritual awakening, or a deeper sense of personal truth. Many of them explore tantra, sacred sexuality, or energetic practices that elevate intimacy into a form of meditation. For them, bodies are temples, and sex is a kind of worship. But they aren't immune to darker currents. Scorpio dragons have the potential to venture into taboo territory, not for shock value, but because they're constantly pushing boundaries. They're curious about your limits and, more importantly, their own. They want to know how far trust can stretch before it breaks. They may be drawn to power games, role-play, or intense psychological interplay. As long as there is consent and emotional safety, they see nothing as off-limits. But if they're emotionally closed off or operating from a place of mistrust, this same edge can become sharp and confusing, even manipulative. Security is the key. If they feel emotionally safe, their sexual self opens like a secret garden, wild, intimate, full of hidden beauty and unpredictable paths. They become endlessly generous, creative, and emotionally present. But if that safety is violated, or never truly earned, you'll get only fragments of them. Teasers, mixed signals, intense moments followed by sudden emotional retreat. They'll leave you guessing, always wondering what was real and what was withheld. They also have an uncanny memory for touch. If you once held their hand in a meaningful moment, they'll remember the exact texture of your palm. If you kissed them under a certain moon, they'll remember the temperature of the air. Every physical interaction gets coded into their emotional system. That's why betrayal, especially sexual betrayal, is a form of soul death to them. It doesn't just hurt, it reprograms how they view you, often permanently. And yet, even after heartbreak, the Scorpio dragon never forgets what it's like to fully merge with someone they trusted. Their most intimate moments aren't just memories, they're sacred records. They may lock them away, but they never destroy them. That's the beauty and danger of loving someone with this astrological makeup. When they let you in, it's forever. Even if you leave, a part of you stays in them. And a part of them, especially their touch, their words, their gaze, stays in you. So what does it really mean to have sex with a Scorpio dragon? It means going beyond your own expectations. It means staring into the fire and choosing not to look away. It means taking off your armor not because they asked, but because you want to. Because they've created a space where the truth is not only safe, it's desired. It's not about lust, it's not about conquest, it's not even about love in the conventional sense. It's about transformation. Because when a Scorpio dragon truly lets you in, when they trust you enough to surrender their own fire to yours, you're not just making love. You're becoming something new. Friendship, few, fierce, forever. To be friends with a Scorpio dragon is to be granted rare access into one of the most complex and fiercely loyal hearts you'll ever encounter. These individuals are not interested in surface-level connections or group dynamics full of fluff and empty pleasantries. Friendship, to them, is a sacred pact, a chosen bond forged not through convenience or circumstance, but through trust, time, and emotional proof. You don't simply stumble into their inner circle, you earn your place in it. They are natural observers, quietly watching from the sidelines before ever revealing a hint of vulnerability. At a party, they're not the ones bouncing from conversation to conversation. Instead, they're studying the room, listening closely, noticing who's authentic and who's putting on a show. They assess character the way an art critic studies brushstrokes. Every word you speak, every action you take, every inconsistency in your story is noted. This makes their friendships rare, but also incredibly intentional. If a Scorpio dragon chooses you, it's because you've passed the unspoken tests most people don't even realize they're taking. Their selectivity isn't snobbery, it's self-protection. Friendship, for them, is emotionally expensive. They pour so much of themselves into it, time, energy, honesty, loyalty, that they can't afford to waste it on those who won't reciprocate. They know their own emotional depth, and they refuse to dilute it for the sake of popularity. They'd rather have one real connection than 100 acquaintances. Once they let you in, you'll quickly understand what true loyalty looks like. They become your secret keeper, your late-night phone call, your crisis hotline. They are the friend who shows up not just when things are fun, but when everything is falling apart. They will fight for you in ways that are both obvious and invisible, confronting those who wrong you, defending your name when you're not around, and silently strategizing how to get you back on your feet when life knocks you down. They don't offer sugar-coated advice or comfort for the sake of politeness. Their love shows up as truth, blunt, unfiltered, and sometimes hard to hear, but always in your best interest. If you're spiraling, they won't just offer a shoulder to cry on, they'll call out the habits, choices, or people dragging you under. Their ability to see through deception applies not only to others, but to you, too. If you're lying to yourself, they'll be the first to say it, and they won't apologize for doing so. Because of their dragon influence, there's a regal pride to the way they protect their friends. They will defend you as if your honor is their own. They see friendship as a duty and a privilege. If someone threatens you, they will not stay silent. If someone slanders you, they will confront it. And if someone breaks your heart, they will remember it long after you've healed. Their memory is long and their sense of justice is personal. But this fierce devotion comes with expectations. Scorpio dragons do not do one-sided friendships. They expect you to show up. They expect you to keep their secrets, to match their effort, to be emotionally honest. If you flake, ghost, gossip, or lie, even once, they will file it away. They may not say anything at first, but the distance will grow, subtly at first, then undeniably. And if the betrayal runs deep enough, they won't just leave the friendship, they'll burn the bridge on the way out. The most unnerving part? They won't scream, block you, or cause a scene. They'll disappear emotionally. The version of them you once knew, the open, supportive, protective one, will vanish. They may still talk to you. They may smile, but the connection is gone. Their trust is a vault, and once it's sealed, no amount of apology will open it again. They rarely offer second chances, not because they're heartless, but because they believe betrayal rewrites the story forever. Despite all this intensity, their friendships can be deeply joyful and full of laughter, especially once you break through their layers. Scorpio dragons have an often misunderstood sense of humor, dry, dark, intelligent, and full of sharp observations. They're the kind of friend who will roast you for your poor choices, then help you clean up the mess those choices made. They balance intensity with irreverence, wisdom with sarcasm. And the more they trust you, the more you'll see that lighter, deeply loyal side emerge. They're also exceptional secret keepers. If you confide in a Scorpio dragon, you can trust that your secrets are sealed tighter than a vault. They despise gossip. They have zero tolerance for those who trade private information like currency. In their world, loyalty is silent, consistent, and deeply earned. They expect you to offer the same. This loyalty also extends across time and distance. Scorpio dragons are not the friends who need constant contact. You can go months without speaking, and when you reconnect, it's as if no time has passed. They value consistency over frequency. They remember the essence of the friendship, and they trust it to withstand the chaos of life. What truly sets their friendships apart is the emotional safety they create. You can be messy with them. You can bring your shadows, your self-doubt, your pain, and they won't flinch. They understand darkness, not just in theory, but because they've lived in it. And that empathy turns into presence. They will sit with you through the worst without trying to fix or escape it. They will remind you who you were when you've forgotten. And they'll keep believing in you until you believe in yourself again. In the end, Friendship with a Scorpio dragon isn't always easy, but it's always real. It asks more of you, but gives more in return. It's built on quiet loyalty, mutual respect, unflinching honesty, and a fierce protectiveness that doesn't fade. Few people get to see this side of them. Even fewer get to keep it. But those who do, they never have to question who's in their corner when life turns dark. Because Scorpio dragons don't just make friends. They become family. Business, ruthless, visionary, unstoppable. Scorpio dragons in business are not just participants in the game, they are architects of the board, builders of strategy, and masters of psychological warfare. They enter any professional environment with the silent confidence of someone who knows they were born to lead. You won't find them bragging loudly about their achievements. You'll find them in the background watching, analyzing, and mentally rearranging the room to better fit their vision. Because to a Scorpio dragon, business isn't about fitting in, it's about taking over. They don't work for money alone. Yes, they want wealth, but not for vanity or indulgence. They want it as proof, as leverage, as fuel for their larger ambitions. Scorpio dragons are legacy-minded. They don't just want to make a name, they want to create something that lasts. Whether it's a brand, a platform, an empire, or an idea, their motivation is legacy, not lifestyle. Every decision they make, every meeting they attend, every deal they negotiate is filtered through one central question: how does this move me closer to my larger vision? They are strategic to the core. Scorpio gives them piercing focus, the ability to cut through noise and get straight to what matters. They don't chase trends, they study patterns, they watch what people ignore. They understand human psychology so well that they often anticipate reactions before they happen. When it comes to negotiations, they play it like chess. They think 5, 10, 15 steps ahead, and by the time their competitors realize what's happening, the game is already over. The dragon influence makes them bold, charismatic, and unrelentingly driven. They don't believe in ceilings, only new floors to conquer. When they walk into a room, people notice. Not always because they're loud or flashy, but because there's something in their presence that suggests power. A Scorpio dragon could be dressed in silence and still command more respect than someone shouting in designer suits. Their confidence isn't performative, it's earned. And yet, they're not reckless. While dragons bring risk-taking energy, the Scorpio side ensures that risk is calculated. They don't gamble, they engineer. They may make bold moves, but rarely without contingency plans. They're the kind of leader who will take a multi-million-dollar leap and somehow make it feel safe. That's the paradox of the Scorpio dragon: daring but methodical. Their decisions may seem impulsive to outsiders, but in reality, they've already mapped the terrain behind the scenes. They are long-game players. Trends come and go, but Scorpio dragons build with endurance in mind. They understand timing better than most. They know when to strike, when to wait, and when to walk away. They can endure seasons of silence, of preparation, of behind-the-scenes work that others would find boring or discouraging. And when they emerge, they don't just launch, they dominate. However, working with a Scorpio dragon is not for the faint of heart. They expect excellence from their team, their partners, and themselves. Mediocrity isn't just disappointing, it's offensive. If you're late, lazy, or disloyal, you won't get a warning. You'll just get removed. Their business relationships are built on trust, intelligence, and performance. Not personality, not charm, not effort. You deliver, or you're done. They don't tolerate dishonesty. One lie, even a small one, can kill a deal forever. Scorpio's emotional radar is highly attuned. They'll pick up on insincerity even when it's buried under polite language and business etiquette. Dragons don't have patience for weak links. Combine these two energies, and what you get is someone who cuts ties fast, clean, and without regret. On the flip side, if you prove yourself, if you bring vision and integrity to the table, you will have a business ally like no other. Scorpio dragons reward loyalty and intelligence with fierce protection and open-handed generosity. They will champion you behind closed doors. They will fight for your ideas. They will invest in you, not just financially, but with real belief and backing. Because once you earn their trust, you're part of the mission. In leadership positions, Scorpio dragons are often revered and feared at the same time. They lead with presence, not performance. They don't micromanage, they strategize. They know how to delegate, but more importantly, they know who to trust. They won't surround themselves with yes men. They respect competence, insight, and bold thinking. Bring them solutions, not problems. Challenge them, but don't undermine them. If they respect you, they'll listen. If they don't, you won't get a second meeting. Their vision often extends beyond traditional business. Many Scorpio dragons gravitate toward industries where disruption is possible. Tech, media, finance, politics, medicine, even underground markets or unconventional startups. Wherever power can be shifted, they want to be the one pulling the strings. They're not afraid of taboo ideas or controversial missions. In fact, they often thrive in spaces others consider too risky or too radical. That's where their magic lies, turning chaos into opportunity. Failure doesn't break them, it sharpens them. When something collapses, they study it. They analyze what went wrong. They let the pain teach them. And then they rise, stronger, smarter, and even more relentless. Every loss becomes a data point. Every misstep becomes part of a larger strategy. You will never meet someone who turns setbacks into fuel as efficiently as a Scorpio dragon. But here's the warning: their drive can become isolating. Their standards can be so high that they burn out people who might otherwise be loyal allies. Their desire for control can create friction with collaborators who need autonomy. And their tendency to see everything as strategy can make them emotionally detached in high-stakes moments. That's the cost of their brilliance. Sometimes, the humanity gets buried under the mission. Still, when a Scorpio dragon finds balance, when they learn to lead with both strategy and soul, they become unstoppable. They build empires that aren't just profitable, but meaningful. They shift culture. They change industries. They redefine what's possible. Because Scorpio dragons don't just want to succeed. They want to conquer with purpose. They want to build things that echo beyond their lifetime. Businesses that move people, ideas that outlive trends, and a legacy no one can deny. That's not ambition. That's destiny, delivered in dividends. Dark sides, the shadows they don't want you to see. Every powerful personality carries a counterbalance of darkness, and when you combine Scorpio's psychological depth with the dragon's overwhelming intensity, you don't just get shadow traits, you get entire internal wars. Scorpio dragons are built from fire and ice, from emotional extremes and absolute convictions. They are brilliant, magnetic, and driven, but beneath the surface, they carry shadows that are as formidable as their strengths. These are the parts they hide, even from those closest to them. The parts they hope no one sees, but that shape their behavior in profound, and often destructive, ways. Control is not just a preference for a Scorpio dragon, it's a compulsion. They need to know the full map of any terrain before they step into it. In relationships, in business, even in casual social settings, they are constantly trying to read the room, monitor the energy, and predict the next move. It's not always malicious, it's a survival strategy. But when that need for control goes unchecked, it warps into manipulation. They may begin testing people, orchestrating situations to reveal others' motives, or creating scenarios just to prove they were right about someone's loyalty, or lack thereof. This can feel suffocating to those around them. What looks like care can become surveillance. What starts as attentiveness can spiral into emotional micromanagement. Obsession is an extension of this same need to control. When a Scorpio dragon fixates on someone, whether it's a romantic partner, a rival, or even a concept, they don't let go easily. They ruminate. They reanalyze conversations, read between the lines, revisit moments again and again in their mind. Their intensity, once a source of strength, becomes a cage they willingly step into. They can lose sleep over perceived slights, create elaborate stories to justify their suspicions, and isolate themselves in the name of clarity. But really, they're drowning in their own overthinking, unable to let life just be. Jealousy is another demon that lurks under their polished surface. Scorpio dragons are not the type to show obvious signs of envy. They won't yell or beg for attention. Instead, they'll pull back with surgical precision, observe your every move, and catalog your inconsistencies like a forensic investigator. Their jealousy isn't loud, it's calculated. They may never admit they're feeling it, but it's there in the way they withhold affection, shift their tone, or suddenly start matching your energy a little too perfectly. Their pride won't let them beg for reassurance, but their soul craves it. And when they don't get it, resentment builds, quietly and corrosively. This emotional intensity feeds directly into their most dangerous shadow, revenge. Scorpio dragons don't forget, and more importantly, they don't move on, they just move differently. If you betray them, even in a small way, it will be written into the story they carry about you for years, possibly forever. But they won't lash out immediately. That's not their style. They'll smile at you, they'll maintain the connection, they might even increase the warmth, just enough to lower your guard. All the while, they're building a case against you, planning a takedown so methodical it feels like a work of art. When the moment comes, the betrayal will feel like it came from nowhere, but in truth, it was designed with chilling precision. And you'll realize far too late that you were walking through a minefield the entire time. They are not impulsive with vengeance. They are strategic. Their sense of justice is deeply personal. It's not about making a scene, it's about making it stick. They don't want revenge you can recover from. They want you to understand why you lost them, why you failed, and why you'll never get close again. In their mind, betrayal isn't just a moment, it's a rewriting of the entire relationship. Once trust is broken, the foundation is considered irreparable. Even if they stay in your life, the connection will never be what it once was. And if they leave, they'll make sure their absence echoes. Another shadow that often consumes Scorpio dragons is emotional overload. They feel things at a level most people can't imagine: pain, joy, love, rage, shame. It's not just emotional, it's existential. When they're hurt, it's not just about the event, it's about what it symbolizes. A rejection isn't just rejection, it's abandonment, injustice, humiliation. These feelings stack up inside them, often unexpressed, and when the pressure becomes too much, they explode. Or implode. They might lash out in a fury no one saw coming, or disappear into silence, cutting off the world completely, as if no one existed but the storm inside them. Isolation is their defense mechanism when they feel overwhelmed. They withdraw not out of apathy, but self-preservation. They don't trust others to handle the full scope of their feelings. And in that silence, their imagination runs wild. They assume betrayals, fabricate motives, and spiral into dark stories that often have little grounding in reality, but feel utterly real. When no one steps in to pull them out, they go deeper, sometimes sinking into self-destructive habits like emotional shutdown, toxic behavior, or escapist fantasies. Even more dangerous is their tendency to punish themselves emotionally. When they feel they've failed, or when someone they trusted hurts them, they often internalize the pain. Instead of processing it, they bury it, turn it into anger at themselves, and carry that wound as a permanent reminder of why they shouldn't open up again. This can create a cold, impenetrable outer layer that looks like strength but is really self-protection at its highest setting. Despite these shadows, Scorpio dragons know they have a dark side. They're not delusional about it. In fact, many of them are hyper-aware of the monsters they carry inside. They study them, name them, try to control them. But like any great power, their intensity doesn't always obey. Sometimes it slips through the cracks. And when it does, it can do serious damage, not just to others, but to the Scorpio dragon themselves. Their greatest fear, often unspoken, is losing control, not just of situations, but of themselves. They fear becoming the villain in their own story. They fear trusting the wrong person. They fear opening up only to be misunderstood, mocked, or used. And so, they armor up. With control, with silence, with power. But that armor comes at a price. It separates them from connection, softness, and the peace that comes from being truly seen without judgment. Yet ironically, it's this very shadow that makes them so captivating. Their darkness isn't mindless or cruel. It's deep, human, and often born from old wounds that never got a chance to heal. If they learn to face it, to channel it, to alchemize it, they become not just powerful, but wise. But until then, Scorpio dragons remain locked in a dance with their own shadows, fascinating, formidable, and often unknowable to those around them. Because at the end of the day, their greatest battle isn't with the world. It's with themselves. Life purpose, power with a purpose. For a Scorpio dragon, life is not a playground, it's a crucible. They don't believe in drifting, in following the script, or settling for an average existence. There's a silent but ever-present fire within them that whispers, "You were born for more." It's not about attention, praise, or ego. It's about significance. It's about making their time on Earth count for something bigger than comfort or convenience. They feel called to impact, often from a very young age, and they carry this drive like an inner compass that never stops pointing toward greatness, even when the road is brutal. At their core, Scorpio dragons are purpose-driven beings. They need to matter. Existing isn't enough. They need to influence, transform, lead, build, destroy, and rebuild. Whether they're leading a company, creating art that provokes emotion, writing words that open minds, or building a movement that shifts culture, they are not content being a cog in the machine. They must be the architect, the visionary, the force that causes ripple effects. They don't just want to leave a legacy, they want to embody one. Their purpose is never shallow. It runs deep, often tied to emotion, trauma, or an early understanding of pain. Most Scorpio dragons were shaped by some form of early intensity, loss, betrayal, displacement, or simply the deep feeling that they didn't quite belong in the superficial world around them. Rather than break them, those moments built them. Each hardship became a forge. Each wound, a source of wisdom. Their desire to make an impact comes not from arrogance, but from knowing what it's like to suffer, and refusing to let that pain go to waste. Transformation isn't just a theme in their life, it's their language. They are constantly reinventing themselves, not because they're lost, but because growth demands it. Every chapter in their story looks like a new version of who they were always becoming. And they aren't content transforming alone, they want to drag others through the fire with them. They become healers, coaches, reformers, artists, therapists, spiritual guides, business leaders, and agents of change, not for prestige, but because their soul cannot tolerate stagnation, in themselves or others. Scorpio dragons don't follow the herd. They are allergic to the easy path. They would rather fail 10 times in pursuit of something meaningful than succeed at something that feels hollow. Their standards are brutally high, but so is their pain tolerance. They understand that greatness costs. They understand that the reward isn't always applause, it's alignment, fulfillment, and they'll take that over fame any day. Their ambitions are bold, but never random. Every goal they set is infused with intention. Every dream is backed by a desire to move people, shake systems, or rewrite the narrative. They are often drawn to roles that involve high stakes, deep emotion, or spiritual consequence. Scorpio dragons don't just want to work, they want to serve a mission. That's why you'll find them in medicine, crisis counseling, the arts, investigative journalism, the justice system, the startup world, underground movements, or leadership roles where transformation is the metric of success. They're attracted to situations that demand emotional depth and strategic clarity, because that's where they shine. Failure doesn't derail them, it fuels them. Rejection is just redirection. Every time something collapses, they mine it for insight, grieve it with intensity, and then rebuild stronger. Their life is a constant cycle of death and rebirth, not in a dramatic, reckless way, but in a purposeful, alchemical one. When others would give up, Scorpio dragons go silent, retreat, reflect, and emerge with a vengeance. What breaks most people becomes their blueprint. Their scars become their compass. Their setbacks, just preludes to a more powerful comeback. They're not afraid of the dark. In fact, their purpose often requires them to walk through it. To face it, to understand it, first within themselves, and then within the world. This is why many Scorpio dragons are drawn to work that others find too heavy: trauma therapy, addiction recovery, activism, shadow work, crisis response. They know how to hold space for pain. They don't flinch in the presence of rage, grief, or chaos. They know that true healing doesn't happen on the surface. It happens in the depths. And they're willing to go there, again and again, because that's where the light gets in. But even when they appear fearless, their drive often comes with a heavy emotional cost. Carrying this much vision, this much purpose, can feel isolating. It's hard for them to find people who get it, who won't shrink in the face of their intensity or try to water them down. That's why Scorpio dragons often walk alone in certain seasons of life. Not because they want to, but because their purpose requires solitude. Requires focus, requires resilience that can't be externally validated. And yet, in that loneliness, they grow even sharper. They learn to trust their own voice. They learn that purpose isn't always glamorous, it's often grueling. But it's also holy, sacred, and when they see the impact of their work, the life that shifted, the system that changed, the soul that healed, they know they're on the right path. Their mission in life is to turn pain into power. Not just their own, but others too. They aren't afraid to destroy what no longer serves, within themselves, within society, within relationships, if it makes room for something better. They are agents of evolution, bridges between what is and what could be. They see potential in broken places. They find strength in the ruins. And then they help others rise, not in spite of the fire, but because of it. That's what sets them apart. They don't just chase success. They become the storm that clears the old and plants the seeds of something legendary. Their purpose isn't a career, or a title, or even a goal. It's a calling. And when they answer it, the world doesn't just notice. It changes. So, next time you meet a Scorpio born in the year of the dragon, don't underestimate what's behind those eyes. You're not just meeting a person, you're meeting an era. A Scorpio dragon doesn't enter a room quietly, not really. Even when they say nothing, the silence they bring hums with significance. There's a presence, an energy, an emotional voltage that makes people turn their heads, even if they can't explain why. What's behind their eyes isn't just thought, it's calculation. It's memory, it's legacy, trauma, love, vengeance, hope, and vision all fighting for the same real estate. And when they lock eyes with you, you're not just being seen. You're being scanned, understood, weighed, measured. The gravity of their stare isn't just about intensity, it's about history. They carry lifetimes in their energy. You're not talking to someone casually floating through life. You're engaging a being who feels like they've been here before, and who fully intends to leave a mark this time around. They are not simply of this moment. They are the moment, and they will always leave you feeling like you just met someone, or something, bigger than one person should be. They live as if they're building a dynasty, even if they never say it out loud. Everything they touch becomes part of their personal mythology. Relationships, businesses, art, even failure, none of it is disposable. It all becomes part of the legend they're crafting, brick by emotional brick. So when they enter your life, it's not a chapter. It's a book, and you'd better read carefully, because when they're gone, you'll never stop wondering how it all felt so big. They won't always be easy, but they'll always be worth it. Let's be honest, being close to a Scorpio dragon isn't smooth sailing. There will be storms, emotional intensity, power struggles, silent treatment, maybe even a little emotional whiplash now and then. They will challenge you, push you, pull you into uncomfortable honesty, and make you question your own motives. But for every moment of chaos, there is an equal, often greater, moment of awe. They don't offer half-hearted loyalty. They offer devotion that defies logic. They don't casually love, they bind. They don't say, "I'm here for you," and disappear. They show up, they fight beside you, they help you face your own shadows when no one else dares to. And yes, they'll call you out when you're slipping. But they'll also hold you when you fall apart. The same intensity that makes them challenging also makes them unforgettable. In love, they'll wreck your expectations. In business, they'll push you toward levels of ambition you didn't know you had. As a friend, they'll guard your secrets like sacred scripture. And as a rival, well, you better hope you never become one. But if you stay, if you earn them, if you learn their language, one of loyalty, transformation, silence, and intensity, They will open parts of life you didn't know existed. They will love you with an energy that feels ancient and prophetic. And every challenge along the way will be proof that something real is happening. You don't walk away from a Scorpio dragon and forget them. You carry the fingerprints they left on your soul, their voice in your head, their truth in your gut. You'll compare every future connection to them, and find that most people simply can't match that fire. And if you are a Scorpio dragon, just know, the world wasn't built to handle you, but it's sure as hell going to remember you. You're not here to be digestible. You're not here to blend in. You're not here to be told who you are, what's too much, or where your edges should be softened. You are power with a pulse, fire with a conscience, ice with intention. You are the personification of evolution, sharp, bold, spiritual, emotional, tactical, and resilient as hell. The world will try to shrink you. It will tell you you're too intense, too emotional, too controlling, too ambitious, too complicated. But what it's really saying is that it's not ready for the kind of transformation you bring. And that's not your problem. You weren't built for approval. You were built for impact. And deep down, you know that. That's why you've always felt a little different. A little too much. A little too aware. That's not dysfunction. That's your power in its rawest form, waiting for refinement, waiting for purpose, waiting for the moment when the world needs you most, and doesn't even realize it yet. You don't just carry light. You earn it, through shadow, through loss, through challenge, and then, you rise with it, weaponize it, and teach others how to do the same. So keep building your empire. Keep breaking cycles. Keep loving like it's life or death. Keep rewriting every rule they handed you. Because you're not here to play small. You're here to transform everything you touch. And if they don't see it now, they'll remember you when they finally do. Enjoyed this breakdown? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and check out our other personality deep dives. Got a Scorpio dragon in your life, or one? Drop your wildest stories in the comments. And don't forget to follow the links in the description for even more content across socials. Stay intense, stay real.